right, everybody. Thank you for everyone being patient on YouTube. We were just ironing out some of the technical issues that we were running into. It's all fixed now. Fantastic. Thank you for waiting. I know folks are eager and excited about this evening. I know I am, seeing what we've been able to accomplish and hopefully continue to accomplish in November and past the primary. We have two fantastic candidates with us at from the LA City Council. I don't want to talk about them too much in depth because I would love to give them and Jane the opportunity to really talk about what they're excited about, who they are, their background, and what we really hope to accomplish in the city of LA. Again, if you are just joining us for the first time, I encourage you to say hi in the chat, where you're joining from, anything you're excited about in LA or with WFP, about these candidates. I know a lot of folks are interested in these races. A lot going on there. I see some folks. Welcome, everybody. With that being said, y'all are not here to listen to me. So without further ado, I would love to pass this over to our statewide director, Jane Kim, for a few of the opening words.
Aiden, thank you so much for kicking us off. And it's really exciting to be here with two of our endorsed candidates for LA City Council today. As someone who gets to be a statewide director for Working Families Party, it's just really exciting to see the groundwork that is being built in cities and regions across the state, from Sacramento all the way to San Diego. Last night, we were able to spend some time with our Imperial Beach Mayor Paloma Aguirre and our San Diego City Council member Sean El Rivera and hear about the incredible work that they're doing. But what is very exciting for Working Families Party is what we're seeing in particular here in Los Angeles, which are challengers that are coming from our community and running against incumbents and winning. And that is something that is pretty unique to Los Angeles, at least in terms of the ground game that we are seeing being organized. And two of those candidates that are here today, that are joining us, are came through in the top two in the primary. And we're really excited to hear and talk to them. Ysabel Jurado, who is running for City Council District 14, and Jillian Burgos, who's running for City Council District 2. So I want to start with Jillian. We're thrilled to endorse you in the general election. You are an essential healthcare worker and a small business owner who is fighting for a more affordable and accessible city and ensuring that we are putting the voices of working class Los Angelinos at the forefront of policymaking. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience across the state and to talk. Well, let's start with your introduction and then, how you came to be the top candidate in a very crowded race against very well-funded opponents.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jillian Burgos. I am a proud Afro-Latina. I am a small business owner and an essential worker. I'm also on the NoHo Neighborhood Council, and I'm a lifelong renter. And for me, family and community is everything. So I'm an only child, and I grew up in poverty, raised by my mother and my grandmother. I was the first in my family to graduate from college. And even with 2 degrees, I realized that I still found it really hard to make ends meet. And I realized that even though I had a good credit score, I looked good on paper, all of that stuff, it was really hard. Life is hard. And I found a calling in Senator Bernie Sanders' Not Me, Us campaign, where he said, you'll be helping the person that you would never meet, and that socioeconomic inequality is the greatest problem of our time. And I greatly, greatly believe that. And so that was back in 2015. I was ready to run. I was so excited. And then my mother, my hero, started showing signs of Alzheimer's. And so I had to take time away from what I wanted, from my needs, to take care of my hero. And it took me about 4 years to navigate the Medicare to Medicaid system. And as we all know, the healthcare system is not on our side. And I had to become her power of attorney, which is something that nobody explains to you. And I basically had to rely on myself and my family, my cousins. And then I started losing family members at that time to easily preventable circumstances of housing, of mental health care, things that we do not address. And, it was really tough. Once I got my mother safe in 2019, what greatly affected me was the death of my cousin Lala, whose death should have been totally preventable. She died due to the circumstances of poverty. Her housing project that she lived in was deemed a rampant crime area. The entryway was blocked off, and the police couldn't get to her on time when she had a severe asthma attack. And so at the age of 39, she died and left 3 children motherless. And that's what propelled me to run, because it at first it drove me to a depression, and I realized that I could let this hold me down, but that would be letting her die in vain. And otherwise I could, choose to fight for people so they could have safe, affordable housing that won't kill them. And so that then I ran for the NoHo Neighborhood Council. I became chair of housing and services, and I started seeing that I was making incremental change on an advisory committee, and I felt like my work was just beginning. I was able to pass grants that have better unhoused neighbors, grants that have given mental health care to at-risk youth, and it was time to step up and to do more. And that's when I decided to run for city council. And it was a really great experience. During this time, it was very hard because we are going through the hot strike summer, or no, actually the year of strikes, really. And the top 3 employers in my district were all on strike at the same time. So it was very hard to fundraise. We had to basically just, we couldn't ask people for money. So we asked for hands, and we built community. We supported striking workers, and we knocked 35,000 doors and got our message out of hope, message of housing for all, and that we can actually make change in our city if we elect progressive council members. So we currently have 3. We're hoping to add 2 more to the city council so we can enact meaningful change for our constituents. And, that's my major focus is housing as a human right, social housing, and renter protections, and getting our unhoused neighbors into actual housing and treating people like people, because I think that's one of the things that we've lost in our city. And I'm also focused on expanding public transportation, expanding our green spaces, and implementing unarmed crisis response. I think that our city focuses too much on reactive services, and we need to focus on preventative ones. So I'm looking forward to bringing compassion and humanity back to city council, and we're going to do it again.
Thank you. Um, I also want to introduce our other WP endorsed candidate, someone who ran in also a very high profile race, largely because of the incumbent that you are running against, someone who developed national fame because the president of our country asked him to resign and he didn't. And you ran also in a very tough race that included not just an incumbent, but also 2 current elected officials, and came in first place. So, Ysabel, tell us a little bit about who you are, also how you decide to come to run for office, and how you came to be the top candidate in this very unexpected turnout for this race.
Yes, thank you so much, Jane. And I'm happy to be here in the company of some powerful women of color who, are running, because that's just like part of the legacy of which I come from and proud to be, because we've just been fighters our whole life. And it's finally time that people put faith in us politically. You know what I mean? So I'm happy to be here and thankful for the Working Families Party's endorsement. A little bit about me. I'm Ysabel Jurado, born and raised Highland Park from Northeast LA, still living in the house that I grew up in. I'm a daughter of undocumented Filipino immigrants who migrated here for a better life and a piece of the American dream. My parents started in a humble basement, just the 2 of them, until they were able to buy the home that we now live in. Cut to 2008, when I came back from actually University of San Francisco, where I was getting a great Jesuit education. I came back home pregnant, had my daughter at 18 years old, and it was the beginning of the 2008 recession. And half my family lost their job, my dad, my brother, and I had to withdraw. I went on food stamps. I went to community college and transferred to UCLA. And eventually, because of my lived experiences, went to UCLA Law to become an attorney for the communities I come from, defending workers against wage theft, tenants against evictions, businesses also, and really seeing that folks are being exploited at work, they're being exploited at home, and when they're exploited in their neighborhoods, they get driven out. And so running for city council to me is a no-brainer, especially when LA touts itself to be the progressive bellwether of the nation. We should have leadership that shows that in front of closed doors and behind them. And yeah, the incumbent, famous for all the wrong reasons, nationally, internationally, right? And so, yes, I'm very proud of my team. We ran against 3 seated elected incumbents. We became number 1, which is a surprise to us. But really, when people ask us what our secret sauce is, it was listening to people. In a history where this district has been run over by our last 4 council members have been resigning in disgrace. The recent one just got indicted for fraud and embezzlement and stealing from people for 13 years. And then this one's on the tapes being racist and homophobic. People feel so disenfranchised now. And so going to grassroots campaigning, going door to door and listening to folks was the novel idea that really appealed to people, and having someone who didn't represent career politicians, right? And me being the antithetical, like I represent just even my physicality. Like I'm a woman, we've never had that, especially a woman of color and like a single mom at that, and who's openly queer. Like those are just all the things that are different to our current leadership that appeal to folks. But at the end of the day, we got the number 1 votes because we knocked on a historic 85,000 doors without sending like big glossy mail. We only sent 1 piece of mail to 3,000 voters, and it was handwritten postcards. We did 60,000 calls, 55,000 texts. We spent more money on digital ads and not television and YouTube as much as other folks did, just to make sure we capture our voter base and did thoughtful targeting. And then we were also the first in our race to get, $174,000 in public funding, and we raised $223 for more than 1,400 donors, and the highest number of grassroots donations, like small dollar ones, in all of the city council races. So we put in a lot of work, and so it wasn't luck. The harder we worked, the luckier we got.
And something that I think is, I've always thought is important when people talk about luck is that all the doors can open, but if you aren't working hard when those doors open, then you can't take advantage of the fortune that comes your way. And so, yes, there's luck, but you have to work really hard for those opportunities to be something that help you advance to the goals that you want to reach. And I just, for our audience members who don't know, who aren't in Los Angeles, LA Progressive reported on some pretty incredible expenditure numbers in your race, calculating dollars spent per vote. Your campaign spent about $36 per vote, whereas one of your opponents spent 4 times as much at $175. And so both of you were outraced, were outspent. And so, tell us a little bit about you're experiencing door knocking, how you were able to raise and inspire folks to walk with you, because anyone can walk and knock on doors, but it's still very hard to do, right? Anyone can do it, but it's very hard to do. So tell us a little bit about how your campaign was able to inspire folks to come and walk with you, and then what your experience was like knocking on doors and talking to voters that may never have met a candidate before. And Jillian, I'll go to you first.
Well, we're kind of known as the campaign that shows up. Like I said, there was a whole year of strikes, and we were there on the strike line. So we were dropping off snacks and then picking up picket signs. So we were there with the community, and the community really felt that we were dedicated to them. We weren't asking for donations or anything like that. We were just listening to them and supporting them in every which way we could. So when it was time to knock doors, we had a lot of volunteers. We had a lot of people who were ready to run with us, knocking doors. And like I said, we did 35,000 in ours, but we did North Hollywood twice. So we actually did a little bit more than that. And most of our money was invested directly back into our community. So we didn't raise a whole lot of money compared to, we had $1.6 million raised against us. So, we raised about 74,000, and then we got like another 94,000 in matching funds. The matching funds program was really monumental for us, and it really went into our field team. And I think that that's what, won it for us, is we were going to the doors and we were asking our community, how do you feel about our city right now? The state of our city, what is important to you? And resoundingly, it was always housing and homelessness, were what people what was at the top of their minds. And yeah, a lot of times people were surprised that I was knocking doors as well. And, I'm just of the people. I'm not a corporate politician. And like Ysabel said, we're we're here to be public servants. We're here to make change happen and to listen to the voice of the people of the city, which has been disenfranchised for such a long time. I mean, my district was gerrymandered. It was talked about on the LA Fed tapes. A lot of people don't realize that. And they talked about taking away Toluca Lake to disenfranchise another council member and to have my opponent be appointed basically to the seat, to stop the voices of 138,000 people before they ever receive their ballots. We believe that time has to come to an end, and that we are a people-powered campaign. We are only beholden to the people, and that's where the work lies. Mm-hmm. And I think people really respect that, and people respect that. Going to do it again by not, hopefully this time, 100,000 doors. That's our commitment to the community, is being there and being an actual ally to the community.
Mm-hmm. Jillian, tell us a little bit about, how you're able to build an infrastructure to knock on the 85,000 doors that you mentioned, and then what your experience was like at the doors meeting voters.
So building the infrastructure.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Jillian? Ysabel. I'm so sorry.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no problem. I wasn't sure, but I figured I would just double check. 85,000 doors is no easy feat. I went through 2 insoles during this campaign fighting plantar fasciitis. But part of it is like my organic, like we have, in this district, we have people move in order to run, right? That's happened to us twice already. And so me being like lifelong living here with my dad, just the organic relationships that I already have, having lived here, and organizing with renters throughout these communities and the community land trust, that is where our support started. When we had our kickoff event in August, we had over 130 people show up, and we were nobody then, right? And that was from genuine word of mouth and people just curious and craving this new type of leadership that was just refreshing after years of being neglected and overrun and just, betrayed by our, our toxic leadership in this district. And so, part of it is our organic relationships. Part of it is like bold leadership, right? We are the first Democratic candidate, and now the only candidate in this race, that has publicly called repeatedly for a ceasefire, right? Even when it was unpopular to do, some people were like saying, stay out of it, you have no effect. And I'm like, I don't care. Like that resignation is what people want from us. The systems as designed want. And like going out there, and to me, that got us more votes, and just being authentic to that. And lastly, like, of course, wouldn't be possible with a huge field team, which we were invested in, and local hiring, right? All of the people that we hire on this campaign and our volunteers are people that live in this district, whether they were born and raised here or they're becoming members or chosen to make this their home. Like my campaign manager has lived in Highland Park for over a decade and has her chosen family here. And so having people from the neighborhoods that are affected by local government, have seen it fail, be part of our campaign, because they're the eyes and ears in these neighborhoods where, I'm not from, whether it's downtown or Boyle Heights or El Sereno. And I think, making sure that the community's lived experiences are uplifted and centered in hiring and volunteering and like seeking them out to be included, because that's the kind of like leadership we want. And co-governance is a tenet of our leadership that we're proposing, but we want to start it on this campaign. And I think that's why our message has resonated, because we're not just here for this moment, we're trying to build a movement. And so, committed to being in community with folks.
Mm-hmm. Very similar to both of you, when I first ran for the school board and the board of supervisors in San Francisco, I didn't get any endorsements. The Democratic Party didn't endorse me, Labor didn't endorse me, the newspapers didn't endorse me. And so we were actually forced to knock on doors because I knew no one was going to get a glossy mailer saying, vote for Jane Kim. And then when I was in office, what I saw was that, we won the right way, right? Because I really got to know folks through every corner of the district when I was in office, and I knew who to call when we were putting policies together. And so I'm so excited that you are already coming in with an incredible foundation to serve the larger district. And it's going to be very powerful when we see both of you there. And so my next question, and now Jillian, I'm going to start with you, is it's now Inauguration Day and you are being sworn into the LA City Council. What are the first 3 ordinances that you would like to introduce? Did I lose sound?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So first 3 ordinances that I would love to see. I would love to make sure that we change outdated zoning laws, especially to go after commercial landlords. I think that a lot of small businesses are being affected by commercial landlords that are allowed to raise rents wildly. I would also love to help push for which is going to be on the ballot, Justice for Renters, which is going to get rid of Costa-Hawkins and to help establish a unified, hopefully each area will have a unified rent control. So definitely housing issues are on the forefront. Those are the things that I would push for immediately, and pushing for, of course, to make sure right now we're in a huge budget deficit, and a lot of really important services we're afraid that they're going to be cut. I would push for those to be reinstated. I was at the budget hearing last week, and we only had one day to advocate for our budget to not be cut. And I think that what we need to do is change one city council meeting to be at an evening or on a weekend day, so that way the public can actually engage with the government.
Ysabel.
And then I'll take it on. One of our top priorities, just from my experience as an eviction defense attorney and doing homelessness outreach, is really attacking our homelessness crisis in the district that I'm running for. It includes Skid Row, which is, the worst homelessness exhibition problem in our nation, right? And making sure that we can deliver actual solutions there. So one of them is, working with community stakeholders in Skid Row and advocates to create community resource hubs, which are one-stop shops where our unhoused neighbors can take a bath, have a meal, go to sleep without getting criminalized, right? Like rest, right? And have storage for them and a place for their pets so they can actually, be able to use these resources. And having that housed with a doctor who can meet their physical needs or their mental health needs. And, frankly, having a housing navigator, having all of those things in one place when someone is mentally ready and able to, when they are, to get them housing ready when housing available is so crucial to intervening in our homelessness crisis right now. And we just haven't had that kind of intervention in CD14 in a devoted manner. And in city council here in LA, we have discretionary funds that city council members can use. And we have the highest number of those in the 14th. So being able to prioritize this project day one is something I want to act upon. The other thing is like other city services. There are places in downtown, there's places in Eagle Rock, there's places in Boyle Heights where your street light just hasn't been fixed for 8 months or a year, or you just have no hope for it because of various issues. And really, finding the money through our discretionary funds or other funds to make sure that we can fix these city services. Because right now in the city of LA, it takes like 7 years to get your sidewalk repaired. I think 15 years to get a tree trimmed. The street lighting thing, I don't even know how long it's going to take, but it's really, really tough for things to get done. And as Jillian mentioned, we're heading into a budget deficit. So where can we find these, funding for these crucial city services, which at the end of the day make folks feel safer, feel like their community is cared for, and making those worthy investments.
So the budget is on all of our minds because most of the cities and our state are now going through the budget process. And the one thing I learned is the budget document is in many ways one of the most important, if not the most important document that any elected official passes, whether you're on the school board or whether you're in Congress. And that this budget is not just line items and dollar signs, it's a reflection of our values and our priorities. And so, keeping in mind that, of course, you all are going to engage in an extensive community process, just given the door knocking that you're doing right now. How you will have hard decisions to make. Things will get cut. If there are less dollars this year than there were the previous year, there are things that we will no longer be able to fund. As you think about that moving forward, what do you think about prioritizing? And Ysabel, I'm going to start with you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, building off of my past answers, just like homelessness, attacking our homelessness crisis, really working with the regional partners. Like, in LA, it's like you have the County of Supervisors, you have the LA City Council, you have the school board, and the Metropolitan Water District, and all those things are governing one spot. And if you don't have a coordinated regional approach, then we're not going to address things, right? Like in LA, the county is responsible for mental health, but that's so intertwined with homelessness, outreach, and also like developing transition housing, right? And if we don't have partners that are talking together, that's really important. So attacking our homelessness crisis, working with a regional approach with, fellow council members and county folks and other legislators. Second is housing affordability, right? The other, like developing a public bank so that communities can have the funds to buy back real estate so that they can have ownership of the land in their neighborhoods to keep it affordable. Because right now, that's the only intervention which kind of protects us from the market, right? And I was on the board of the Community Land Trust here throughout statewide, and I think that's something we should be investing in, and having a public bank is key to that. And the last one is, going back to these city services, right? One of them is, the street lighting, obviously, and sanitation, but also rec and parks, like investing in these community spaces and neighborhoods so that we can occupy space and time so that community members feel safe. Like in Boyle Heights, there was a boy that was shot at Pecan Park. And, families no longer want to enroll their children there. It's just like, been invaded with different activity. But they were just like, it's because there's nothing that's happening there. It's like, how can we smartly utilize our city funds to activate our streets again and activate these community spaces so that they're occupied and people feel community and safe again. And so wanting to make sure that our rec and parks continues to stay funded, right? So those are my priorities.
Jillian. I think you need to unmute. Jillian.
Sorry, I keep having trouble with this mute button here. Okay, I should be good now. So basically, to build off of Ysabel, definitely an investment in having a public bank, because we lose a lot of money in spending all these percentages paying a corporate bank when we can have our city bank instead. I also think that we need to spend smarter. We are investing in a lot of temporary services, like certain programs right now for housing our unhoused neighbors. We utilize hotel rooms and motel rooms, and we're paying these inflated prices of anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a month, when that could go to paying somebody's actual rent instead. So I think that we need to invest in a housing for all model and social housing and community land trusts. Those are things that will save money in the long run and will give generational wealth to renters, because they'll become the actual owners of their own home and invested into it. So I also think we need to utilize state grants for mental health and unarmed crisis response services. We're not looking into the state and into the county. We're relying only on ourselves, but we need to be in partnership, because this is a problem for all of us. And I think one of the last things too is charging vacancy taxes. So we have a lot of corporate landowners who are holding on to land, and they're not letting it go, which is inflating the real estate market right now. And so we need to start charging vacancy taxes to get them to let go of that land and to have them rent it at reasonable prices.
So we're trying to build a bench in California throughout the state. And that means recruiting and identifying folks to run for office. What is one thing that you've learned on the campaign trail over the last year that you either wish you had known before you ran, or just, that really surprised you while you were running? And Ysabel, you're laughing. I'm going to start with you.
Yeah. Gosh, I think one thing is that if you don't like talking on the phone, this is not the career path for you. You're going to be on the phone a lot, whether you're whipping votes or begging for money. That's it. So I think that's like one thing, is like a lot of the work is on the phone wherever you are. The second thing that you have to contextualize is that you become a small business. I'm a small business, like I do small business as a helping small business is my attorney job. You become a small business overnight when you become a candidate, right? You are the CEO, but you're the chief financial officer marketing officer for this campaign. You are the brand, and you are the best fundraiser for this organization, and you're kind of like a startup, right? And so you are the face. You are the small business. You become a boss. You have to hire people. It's like a whole. I think that analogy to the startup is best, right? And but then also the thing is, like, if you are starting for the first time and you don't have that deep bench and Rolodex of like people to ask for, like I didn't, right? Then you have to build that muscle. And getting people to even do small dollar donations to your campaign is like, you have no ROI other than faith in my leadership, democracy, good governance. But really, that is what you have to at least start off with, because to accomplish those 85,000 doors, I needed to really amass a lot of those resources. And as a candidate, I just didn't realize how much calling people for money it would take, and having to be shameless and work through that, and not having frankly enough money to have other people have fundraisers that sit down with them to do that, and we just didn't have that kind of money, right? So I think like being self-disciplined to do that, and then also just like the financial impact on yourself and making sure you're planning accordingly, because and how it can be all consuming, and that is definitely just making sure that you're financially in a good place, or have a plan for it when you're running, because it is a cumbersome thing. And I took time off from work to do it, and it was a good decision for us ultimately. I think but I'm going back to part-time work so that I can continue to run, because our runway is until November. So I think those are the three things: being on the phone, becoming a small business overnight, and having to beg for money with little return, possibly. And then also creating your own personal financial plan.
I think those are great lessons to share with the audience. And one thing I also learned as a candidate is that no one is going to raise as much money as you are. Like, you want to have a fundraising committee, you want to have a fundraiser, but they are not going to raise as much as you can raise on the phone when you're asking for folks to support you. Jillian, some lessons that surprised you or
Wow.
you
I
before
mean,
you
that was
ran?
pretty comprehensive. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, so lessons that you learned on the campaign trail that you either wish you knew before you ran or that just surprised you?
Lessons that I learned, definitely being on the phone way more than I ever wanted to be. I do like talking to people, but I don't like asking people for money. But it's an investment in your community. So that you're not asking for money for the sake of asking for money. This is an investment in the future of your community. So you have to look at it that way. And what you're really, you know, selling, if you look at it that way as a salesperson, is you're selling a better future. You know, the hope of a better future, and that people are going to be partners. I like to look at being an investment partner with me into versus selling. So I think that that's something that's really important. Something else that I've really learned is that you should never think that you have enough time. You don't have enough time. So really prioritizing getting everything done ahead of time. But also at the same time, prioritizing yourself, your mental health is prioritizing the mental health of your team as well. So that is one thing that we have always done when people need to take time off. We've covered each other. We've taken care of each other. We have to. We're a family. So we are a business, but we are a family business. And so mental health is something that you can't take for granted in this, because it is a long haul. You will hear things about yourself that you know, and you can't defend yourself about it. So always stepping into things with graciousness and knowing that this is a privilege to be able to run, because a lot of people can't do it, and the system is set up so that normal people cannot run. And we've really fought hard to be able to.
You know, one thing that I find incredible is that even 25 years ago, it was almost impossible for folks that look like us to run for office, or at least be taken seriously. And many of you may know a candidate that we're supporting in the Bay Area who came in first place in her congressional race to replace Barbara Lee's seat, Latifah Simon. And Latifah and I both started out as youth organizers at the same time. And we were both running in the same year. She was running for BART board. And she said, you know, win or lose, she's like, we are our grandmother's dreams. Like, our grandmothers couldn't dream of even campaigning and have their name on signs and door knocking, right? And so there's been so much to continue. The fight never is over, right? But there is also so much that we've gained that we can be appreciative of and to not take for granted. We can have a seat at the table, and when we get there, we have to fight for it. And now, as you look forward to past Inauguration Day, you're now running for re-election. How does your district look different because of you and the community that you brought to the table, to the LA City Council? How does your district look different in 4 years? And Jillian, should I go back and start with you?
Sure, we can start. Yours doesn't feel long enough, especially when you're trying to undo decades of harm that has been done to a district, that has been done to a city. But I feel that our council office is going to have a great relationship with our constituents. They aren't going to be ignored, and I think that that's something that we haven't seen in well over 15 years right now. And we're going to definitely make sure that we take their concerns into account and support them all the way. The biggest thing is trying to get through this budget deficit, which we will do. And, you know, I've been poor all of my life. I know how to make $1 out of 15 cents. And so I'm planning to use that budgeting prowess at City Hall, and really to effectively govern. I think it's all about having a partnership with the community.
Thank you. Ysabel.
Yeah, definitely. Love Latifa, by the way, and so glad to hear that you both started as youth organizers. That's the best. Um, you know, when I think about it, uh, and what our district will look like, definitely like neighborhoods, all of them seem to feel neglected, right? And I know, I'm not going to agree with everybody on every single day, but I definitely want our constituents to feel heard and respected and have someone that they can trust, which is just like when I talk to voters, or I ask them what's their base, like what do they want from their council member, they were like, someone who won't leave, someone who's honest, someone who will answer our email. And I was like, wow, this is the bare minimum. We can't even add, we can't, I was like, that the bar is so low there, right? And so, having them have higher standards and expectations, but just like reliability, honesty, and transparency, and, co-governance, like bringing the community into our meetings, having them have a seat at the table, you know, after we get our seat. Like it's a seat to be shared with the community that pretty much raised me. And at the end of the day, we are turning the page, hopefully, on these racist tapes and having real healing in our community and saying goodbye to this toxic leadership of corruption and racial division in the city of LA, and making sure that we can fight for the things that matter to us, and stop having to, with Jillian on board, hoping we don't have to chip away, uh settling for crumbs and chipping at change, and really getting those bigger wins that will have more long lasting effects. And I think, it'll take all of us.
So, by the way, I don't think I mentioned, I'm actually in the great city of LA right now. I'm spending some time here in May, and I have, already really been enjoying being in your city. And, to the audience members that are listening, we need you to come out. We cannot take these races for granted. We are building something in Los Angeles, and seeing 3 candidates come out of the community and beat incumbents, Nithya Rahman, Hugo Soto Martinez, and Eunices Hernandez, is inspiring, and we need to keep that momentum going, right? We have 15 members on the council, and the more we can grow a corporate-free working family squad on the Los Angeles City Council, the largest city in California, um, and show that the change that a people-powered elected can make will inspire cities around the state and around the country. And, and the legislation that you will be able to lead on and pass will get replicated. So, whether it was the paid sick day ordinance, which actually started in San Francisco, and now we're seeing expanded on, and actually we're seeing more paid sick days in other states than we see here in the state of California, which is incredible. Something that started here has gained legs throughout the country and is being expanded on, and even done further and greater than, where it started, is the work that is so important that you all can lead on. So when you win, we all win, right? And so to our audience members, please come out and support these 2 incredible women. They've already talked about how they will stretch your dollar, right? So the $10 that you give to these 2 women will be stretched in every single way, in ways that other campaigns cannot. But please come and knock on doors. Please come and phone bank and text bank with us. We want to see both of you in the Los Angeles City Council. Can you both share how folks can engage and get to connect with your team members if they want to volunteer? And, your Instagram handles, all of that. What are the best ways for them to reach out and join your team? Ysabel.
Yeah, sure. Our website is ysabeljurado.la. You can sign up to volunteer there. Text rate messages may apply. Also, find us on all social media, X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, ysabeljurado.la. Come tap in. If you DM on Instagram, it's more than likely that I am responding to, and not a bot.
Thank you. Jillian.
But you can find me. Our website is JillianForTheValley.com. So JillianForTheValley.com. And on all socials, you can find me at JillianForCD2. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I still call it Twitter. Um, and yeah, find us, follow us. You can volunteer at, we have a bit.ly/Jillian join. And you can also donate. We won our campaign, $8.10 a vote. So, you know, and everything helps. And with the matching funds program for both Ysabel and I, your if you're in the Los Angeles area, your donation is matched 6 times. So $5 becomes $35 and $129 for us.
So folks, you heard it. Every dollar you give will get matched, but also knowing that every hour, every dollar you give is an investment in at least the next 4 years. So if you can give 3 hours, it can turn into 4 years of incredible foundation building and change, and hopefully many more years beyond that. And per being a Bay Area person in LA, I did not realize how much time I would spend in my car. This is my first time actually doing a Zoom in my car because I didn't make it to the destination I wanted to get to because of the traffic that I'm still learning in this great city. So you can see that it's getting darker. So it's time for us to close. But I want to make sure Aiden's going to do closeout announcements, but I want to make sure that everyone is coming to the convention. And I believe both of you will be in attendance there as well, so people can meet you in person and also meet our great elected officials who have been elected around the state. But we already have over 270 people registered from San Diego all the way to Sacramento. We are building statewide, and we want everyone to get to know each other and make WFP their political home. So Aiden, back to you.
Thank you so much, Jane, and thank you to our speakers. You are more than welcome to hop off, speakers. I can take it from here. Thank you again for joining. Loved hearing from our new candidates. Thank you again, Jane, as well, for hosting. As Jane mentioned, our convention is coming up at the end of this month, May 31st through June 2nd. I dropped the convention link in the chat. Also shared the links to connect with Ysabel and Jillian for their respective websites. Always appreciate folks joining and hopping on. I love seeing a lot of new voices and a lot of new people coming in. Really appreciated it. If you want to stay in touch, feel free to contact us at any point. You can also join our Discord. Always a great space. We have meetings with different candidates, different individuals. We have game nights, movie nights, just talking about whatever nights. Really appreciate everyone joining. Please keep an eye out for any of the upcoming events that we have in person, whether it be in the next couple of weeks or later into the summer. We will always have events both virtually and in person. If you want to see the upcoming events that we have, !events will always take you to the place you need to go. Mobilize has all of the upcoming events. We have a bunch of things coming up this month, so I hope to see you at an upcoming event. Otherwise, it is 8:01. We are a minute over my set time for this. Thank you again for everyone who joined. Really appreciate it. Thank you for bearing with our tech issues at the very beginning. Hope everyone learned something new about some of the candidates, or about Jane, or about myself, or about WFP. And we really look forward to continuing to grow with y'all. It takes all of us to do this work, and it's super important. So I, again, more than anything, thank you all for joining us. And I hope you have a safe, wonderful, nice rest of your evening. Take care, everybody.